Keith Reinhard was a married man and a sports reporter for a Chicago newspaper for 23 years. Keith had wanted to find a purpose in his life before he turned 50 and decided that he wanted to move to Silver Plume in Colorado. He had a number of reasons for the move, such as getting in shape through mountain climbing, overcome his fear of heights, and to begin writing his own book. He also wished to pan for gold there and had a keen interest in photography, believing Colorado perfect for taking pictures. Located in Colorado, Silver Plume had a population of around 130 people and was located in the middle of steep majestic Colorado Rockies. Once Keith had relocated to Silver Plume, he decided to open up an antique shop aimed towards summer tourists. If his shop were to be successful, the plan was for him and his wife to move there permanently. 9 months before opening his antique shop, that same store had been a bookstore run by Tom Young for 1 year before Tom Young had gone missing. Keith had learned of his shop's former owner's disappearance, which developed into an obsession for Keith, who would talk about the disappearance to everyone who had known Tom Young. Keith then began writing a book about Tom Young's disappearance. The book was based on Tom Young, and that book's character, named Guy Gypsum, was a mix of both Tom and Keith. Keith's daughter said he spoke about Tom's disappearance constantly. Tom Young had moved to Silver Plume in 1969, living there alone with his dog, named Gus. He had been a veteran of the Army Special Forces and was a former teacher at Arvada High School. Tom's body was found by 2 hunters who had been exploring Republican Mountain, which is 1.5 miles outside Silver Plume. He was discovered on the 31st of July, 1988. It was determined that both Tom and his dog, Gus's cause of death, were from a bullet wound to their heads. Tom had purchased a revolver 4 days before he had gone missing. That revolver was found at the scene where the bodies were located. His death was ruled as a suicide. It has been suggested that both Tom and Gus's bodies were deliberately concealed, as there had been pieces of shredded green tarp found by their bodies. Around a week after the bodies had been discovered, on the 7th of August, 1988, Keith closed his store around 2:30 p.m. As he walked around Silver Plume that afternoon, he began to tell everyone of his plan to climb to the top of Pendleton Mountain, which is nearby. Finally going to a cafe around 4 p.m., he spoke to Ted Parker. He said that he was going to climb the mountain and reach the top, and told Ted Parker that if he didn't make it back, to call a rescue team for him. Ted Parker felt that he was joking, and didn't take Keith seriously. Keith was seen walking towards Pendleton Mountain. What has stood out to many people is that this hike would have taken Keith 6 hours to do, and he was starting his journey after 4:30 p.m., which was too late as it would have got dark during his hike. Another thing was that he was unprepared for such a hike. He wasn't wearing a jacket, only wore a flannel t-shirt, and carried no supplies. Also, the previous time he had attempted to climb a mountain, he had to stop due to getting vertigo. Keith was last spotted at the base of the mountain. That night, Keith never returned home, and the next day, helicopters were called on to search the mountains, although nothing in connection to Keith's disappearance was found. After he had gone missing, his friends found a newspaper next to Keith's computer that had the headline, "Tom Young's Body Found." On his computer was the unfinished book he had been writing about Tom Young's disappearance. The final words on the book read as Guy Gypsum changed into some hiking boots and donned a heavy flannel shirt. He understood Tom now and his motivation. Guy closed the door, then walked off towards the lush, shadowless, Colorado forest above. On the 11th of August, 1988, as an air search was being carried out for Keith, a Civil Air Patrol plane crashed into the Pendleton Mountain. The spotter, Don Drobny, was badly injured, and sadly, the pilot was killed. The search was one of the largest search and rescue missions in Colorado's history, and by the 14th of August, 1988, the search was called off. In their 30 years of operation, the Colorado Alpine Rescue Teams have located every single person that they have searched for, but they have never been able to find Keith. There have been different theories in regards to Keith vanishing. Some have speculated that his disappearance was deliberate so he could start a new life, because he had been having what appeared to be a midlife crisis. Another theory says that he went to the mountains that day to commit suicide, just like Tom Young had done, and he wanted to become Tom Young. One other theory goes that foul play was involved. Some believe that Keith might have got too close to some information regarding Tom Young's disappearance or death, and some others believe that because they both had worked in the same store at some point in their life and that their vanishings or deaths have something to do with something they had seen or had a connection to their store. Other theories state that an animal killed him or that he died due to natural causes. In November 2001, Keith's son, Sven, passed away from carbon monoxide poisoning. Keith has been declared legally dead, and most of his relatives agree that this is likely what became of him. In September 2021, two hikers who were filming footage for a college film found Keith's wallet. That film has now become a documentary on his disappearance.